Hello Ride On people, this is my 3.5k mileage update on my 2021 Ducati Streetfighter V4S. So I've just had some new tyres fitted and let's have a look at that bit. That's not too good, is it? Yep, just about 3,500 miles now and needs a new tyre. Today is the 11th of May and so I'm having some new tyres fitted. These have only lasted 3,500 miles. They are the OEM tyre, the Pirelli Rosso Corsa 2. Nice sticky tyre. Diablo on Marcassini forged wheels. It's summertime, so I think I'm fitting another pair basically, and maybe go back to, or maybe fit a road tyre for winter time. But before taking your bike in, always do a couple of things. Always video the bodywork to show it is immaculate, especially where it might be kicked along this edge. On top here, absolutely pristine. Absolutely pristine. No scuff marks whatsoever. Yeah, perfection. And then general bodywork, nothing on the tank. No scratches on the mirrors or the levers. Bodywork perfect. Headlight area perfect. Levers perfect. Mirrors perfect. Bodywork good. So all perfect basically. Well worth doing that every time you have your bike in for a service, just so they don't scratch anything like these carbon kick plates or the engine casings, these carbon wings. Good. It just kind of proves it was in excellent condition when you dropped off the bike. So actually 3,670 miles. And one thing I like to do is on the trip to, I like to reset it, and then when I get to the dealers I'll also reset it. If you forget, you know how far it is from your house to the dealers. Now if they're just fitting some tyres, you can expect 2 to maybe 5 miles as they run the bike around the block. But if it's suddenly got 30 miles on it, then a mechanic took it home at lunchtime, had a quick thrash around on it, you might find that the motor's changed from street to race. You might find wheelie control has been altered and traction control has been switched off. If so, you probably want to speak with the general manager. But assuming all is well, it's a good little check to see that nobody's been joyriding on your machine. So what else can I tell you about the ownership experience? Well, let's just deal with the overall thing. Let's get straight to the point. It's fabulous. I really like the bike. It's really exciting. It's really full of character. It's a visceral experience to ride it, and it feels a privilege and a genuine pleasure to go out and have fun on this beast. It's not for everyone. I don't know if it'll be for me for life. I have a bad track record when it comes to being fickle and changing my bikes, and it's just nice to change your bike now and then and put new accessories on it and have some fun with it and then move on to the next thing. But in terms of sheer riding pleasure, there's a lot to be said for it. So let's talk about some of the things that I've done to it. Firstly, I think the first thing I changed was the tail tidy. Had a big bit of plastic hanging down here that I didn't like, and so chopped that off, put a nice shorty bracket on it and moved the tag plate right up and the turn signals in a little. I kept the stop turn signals for safety reasons. I do like having a large display so that people behind can see you very clearly. And then, as nobody was ever going to go on the back of this bike, removed the pillion foot pegs and fitted the Panigale-esque solo seat conversion, which looks absolutely beautiful. It's really stunning, this bodywork, I think. Next things I did were fit the carbon fibre tank protector, which is a Ducati official part. Also went to Motor Million and had ordered a keyless gas cap release, quick action release system, and I like that. It's really beautiful piece that gets a lot of comments, and it's nicely machined and engineered, very easy to use without removing your key from the ignition at gas stations, which is nice. Next thing I did was a bit of carbon fibre wrapping. I wrapped the wings in carbon fibre, and I think they came out really nicely. I was pretty pleased with the way they looked, got a lot of nice compliments. And I also wrapped this storage compartment and the little seat hump here, and also the foot peg hangers, which quite often get mistaken for aftermarket carbon fibre parts. So did those things for aesthetic reasons. Additionally, for aesthetic reasons, I fitted these bar end mirrors, which I'm really pleased with. They are glassless. They are machined polished finish, and they are indistinguishable from glass, except the mirror is super thin. And I also bought the finishing end kit for the bar end mirrors just to make them look nice. This one actually worked itself loose a couple of weeks ago, and I just tightened it up with a bit of padding inside, and good to go. Other thing I did was I put in some bar risers. Initially I got just regular risers, and they didn't work because of the offset. You have to get pivot risers, and I think I went with a 2-inch in the end, which is a real stretch. Better probably to go with the slightly smaller one, the 1 1/4, if you can get it. But it does really help in terms of wrist ache on the longer journeys, and I do like to ride a decent mileage. I do find the standard seat is very compliant. It's very comfortable. I mean, for what it is, it's not supposed to be an RT or a GS or something. It's no Goldwing, but you know, I've done 365 miles in a day on it, and could walk at the other end quite comfortably. And I find it's pretty good for kind of 50-mile hops, and then I'm pretty much ready for a leg stretch anyway, so kind of an hour and a quarter ride, ready for a leg stretch. In terms of things which are truly epic, obviously can't overlook the engine. The engine has been, well, the whole bike has been faultless. Let's deal with reliability first, and those old preconceptions about Ducatis. Absolutely faultless. The chain has only really required one adjustment in 3,500 miles, and the engine sounds sweet as a nut and produces life-altering power, basically. It's, you know, if you get this thing above 10,000 revs in the lower gear, it's I say to my friends that it's not just kind of brutal, it's violent. This thing puts down serious amounts of power, and it's quite controlled by the electronic suites. You've got slide control, traction control, wheelie control, cornering ABS, cornering traction control, and it even has a tyre recalibration for when you fit new tyres, which my service centre actually didn't know. I had to tell the mechanic and service advisor there that you actually have to go into the menu and select tyre recalibration, because the bike's so clever it wants to recalibrate. So for instance, if I hadn't have fitted a 200 section with a 60 profile, which is the standard Pirelli Rosso 2 Corsas, maybe I'd fitted, say, the Dunlop Q4s. They don't do that in a 60 profile. They do it in a 250 profile, which would be okay for some people. I just slowed the steering very slightly. That's why you have tyre recalibration, because the bike needs to work out what that rolling profile of the tyre is, so that it can ensure all the electronics are pinpoint. That's how clever this bike is. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the number one, along with the Panigale V4S. It's the number one bike in the world in terms of tech. Very, very advanced. Has it got some things that you know, have other bikes got some things it hasn't got? Yes. For instance, the Harley Pan America has, you know, auto lowering preload at a standstill. That's not what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, all things considered, when you think about the level of tech available on this and the adjustability, there's nobody with a more advanced electronic suite, put it that way. Even KTM and all the rest. In terms of suspension, it's very lush actually. I haven't ridden the standard Streetfighter. I have a friend who has one of the ride-on crew, Doug Rixey. He has one and he likes it very much and doesn't seem to struggle with it. But the O-Lins is obviously next level premium. Electronic O-Lins, both front and rear, and coupled with the several rider modes that you have, it really makes for a pretty compliant and plush ride, along with this deeply padded seat. The bike feels incredibly light. I've taken a few things off mine, I guess weight wise, things like the pillion hangers and footrests, which were quite heavy, and bits and bobs off the bike. So mine's probably around about 385 pounds, and that's a very light bike when you've got 208 horsepower produced by that amazing V4 engine. The Multistrada, which I also have on order, the V4, produces less power, 170, doesn't have the Desmodronic valve gear, so it can't rev out quite as high, but valve adjustments of course are at an amazing 36,000 miles, whereas on this servicing 7,500 miles, and you need the Desmo valves doing at 15, which is going to incur a bit of a cost. But the Multistrada produces just slightly more torque actually in the mid-range, although it's a much heavier bike, so it's all a bit offset basically. So let's get on to the things that I don't like or they could improve. Okay, firstly, everybody says that it's thirsty, and it absolutely is. You can get anywhere between 65 to 110 before the low fuel light comes on, and then you'll probably got maybe 25 miles. The Ducati's a little bit pessimistic about the range once it's on reserve, but you can certainly run it down to 0 miles indicated, and it's exactly the same with the Multistrada, and fill up, but you don't want to be pushing it beyond that, otherwise you'll be literally pushing it. So it's a little bit thirsty, and the tank isn't the biggest. Such is the nature of the bike. It's not made for long tours, it's made for lightweight, and the more fuel you add, the heavier it gets, and you're putting fuel in an area where you don't really want it. You want mass centralisation, which this bike has in spades. So, range could be just a little bit better. I wish I had 1 more gallon, but other than that, quite happy with that. What else? I think cruise control should be standard. It's not even available as an option. I understand this is more of a track and fast road bike orientated bike, but really, anything that has ride-by-wire throttle and the electronic suite this has, you can easily have cruise control, and just when you've got to do the highway miles to get to the twisty fun stuff, it would be nice if it had that as well. Equally, heated grips. I mean, I think on bikes costing 25,000, north of 25,000 pounds or $25,000, depending on where you live, there aren't really any excuses for a bike not coming with cruise control and heated grips as standard, irrelevant of what the genre of the bike is. And I think I'd much sooner have those things than say 9 levels of wheelie control, or launch mode control. Yeah, it's fun to boast to your friends down the pub that my bike's trickier than a very trick thing, but equally when it's chilly out, it's a chilly morning, heated grips would be nice. And then when you've got to go 50 miles up the freeway to get to the twisty roads, cruise control would be a godsend as well. So That would be good. I also think some of the numbers on the display are a bit tiny. There's a lot of information shown. I think BMW kind of get that right. They really appreciate that bikes that are this expensive typically, bit of an altercation, bikes that are typically this expensive are generally bought by fairly comfortably off financially middle-aged men. And I can tell from personal experience, you get to 50 years old and your close-up vision goes. So there's no use doing, miles remaining in 2, CPI. It's really hard to read. BMW get that absolutely right with their big TFTs, particularly on the RT, but also on the GS to an extent as well. We've got nice big numbers, and the key things that you really want to know, like how many miles till I run out of fuel, how fast am I going, hits you very squarely in the face without the need for reading glasses. So I'd like to see that improve. It's obviously designed by some young engineer who likes small numerics basically. What else? There's no inbuilt navigation, but I can forgive them that. It's not a Tourer, as we mentioned, and I have a nice Beeline mounted on my bars, and I use that with my phone in my pocket. It's perfect for my needs for very complicated route planning. Okay, what else can I tell you? The wheels are Marcassini forged, so they're light and strong, and the chain adjustment is simplicity itself on this. You loosen off 2 bolts, put a C-spanner on, turn it, tighten them back up, job done. Very, very simple. Easier than the Multistrada, despite not having a centre stand or a paddock stand in my particular case either. Brakes are phenomenal. They're Stylema Brembo. It don't get better, baby. Lights look really cool and actually work very nicely. The DRLs look lovely. Yeah, I find the bike is generally a joy to live with. I'm getting a little bit older now, so there's the odd day when my knee aches a bit or something, and a bike where you're a bit scrunched up on after a couple hundred miles, your knee might ache a little bit more than it did at the start of the day, but it's not crucifying. And I did have to put the risers on it because my wrists, which are both full of titanium nuts and bolts, it just gave them that little bit easier time. I don't think it looks as nice aesthetically, with the bars raised that little bit, but what are you going to do? And it's been nice. They do interfere very slightly with the clocks unless I peer forwards a little bit. They're no problem for the electronic Olin steering damper, which is beautiful in itself. I do like the kind of magnesium effect of the engine covers. That looks nice. Obviously you get beautiful yellow Olin's shock as well, but I do like this. And overall the fit and finish has been good. The bottom of the exhaust at the back looks a bit cheap because it's unfinished. It's not a nice double skin chromed item or something like that, which would add weight and cost and complexity, and a lot of people are going to replace anyway. I would not replace the standard exhaust system, which sounds absolutely freaking awesome. It's plenty loud enough for me. I would not want anything louder. And on the overrun, it's particularly nice because you get the rev matching automatically, which sounds absolutely trick as anything. So overall, I've done a fair bit aesthetically speaking, with the carbon wraps, the bar end mirrors, and the bodywork changes, and I've done some practical things in terms of like the bar risers, etc. And it's made it a bike that's very easy to live with. The hardest thing is really finding a gas station every 100 miles or so, just to be on the safe side. But you plan your routes around that so that you can stop somewhere scenic and have a leg stretch in 50 miles, and then 50 miles later plan to stop at a major gas station and just refuel, and it's no problem. You can do that all day long. Tyres absolutely awesome in terms of grip, but they do wear out quickly. I didn't really use the other ones particularly hard. They're used through winter, and they're done in 3,500 miles or so. And these will be the same, no doubt. We're going through summer now, so they may wear out even quicker. And then if I keep it through the winter period, I would probably move to the road version of the Pirellis, or try the Dunlops, or something else that's more road orientated. It's going to warm up that little bit quicker on cold winter roads, as I'm not actually doing track days, etc. So that pretty much wraps up the 3,500 mile update on the bike. And do I recommend it? Yeah, I think if you know what you're getting, and this is the sort of bike you want, you like the Streetfighter like bike, and you accept that you can't take pillions, and you know you'll be carrying a rucksack and all sorts of compromises in terms of practicality. You're going to be refueling it quite quickly. If that's worth it to you because of the way it looks, and the way it looks appeals to you, and I know I can't walk through my garage without ignoring all the other vehicles in there and just staring at this beautiful creature. And if you love the sound of a V4 engine, and if you just have to have the ultimate power to weight ratio in terms of grunt, and you love all that trick top drawer stuff like the Stylema brakes, the Öhlins steering damper, the electronic Öhlins front and rear, the TFTs, the configurable aspects of those, and just the sheer feeling you get from owning a nice modern red Ducati, then sure, buy one. You know, we're not here for forever. Coronavirus has shown us if you really want to live your life, live it. So if it's for you, go and buy one. And if it's a bit too extreme for you, I totally understand and totally get it. Or you don't have the funds for one, or you know, I wouldn't say mortgage yourself to death to get one or anything like that. But if you have the money and you really fancy it, then yeah, I have no regrets. I love it. So that's it. I'll give you an update probably next at the maybe 5k, or even at the 7.5k after the service, and we'll see how we get on. Plenty of Multistrada V4S videos coming up. Jerry's is racking up the miles as we speak, and probably getting close to 10,000 miles now. And I will have my full sport model by the end of the month, fingers crossed. So I'll be doing plenty of videos on that. We'll be doing some weekends away, a little bit of touring, some product testing, and I've been demoing a few bikes, so watch out for those videos too. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you soon.
Hey you, if you want to become one of the Ride On people, don't forget to subscribe. Ride often, ride carefully, ride on.